The stars had always called to humanity, but when the galaxy finally answered, Earth chose silence. It was the year 2157 when the massive alien ships appeared above Earth's cities. They came without warning, their vessels gleaming like metal moons against the blue sky. The Galactic Council had found another primitive species, ready to be welcomed into the great community of advanced civilizations. Their message broadcast across every frequency, translated into every human language through technology that seemed like magic. People of Earth, you are invited to join the Galactic Council. Prepare for integration. The world's leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Military forces went on high alert. Scientists analyzed the alien broadcast with trembling hands. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact, the proof that they were not alone in the universe. Then Earth did something no species had ever done before. They said nothing. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the United Earth Military Command Center, watching the screens that showed alien ships hovering patiently in orbit. She was 40 years old with sharp eyes that missed nothing and black hair pulled back in a tight bun. She had been chosen to lead this moment, though few knew what that leadership would mean. Send the response, she said quietly. The communications officer hesitated. Commander, the message is... It's just silence. Exactly. Send it. Across the solar system, every human ship, every satellite, every transmission device went dark. Earth withdrew like a turtle into its shell. Human vessels that had been exploring Mars and the outer planets turned back, racing home. The borders of human space contracted to the edge of the solar system, and there they stopped. The Galactic Council waited for a response. Days passed. Then weeks. They sent more messages, each one more insistent than the last. They offered technology, trade, knowledge. They promised peace and prosperity. They even sent warnings about the dangers of isolation in a crowded galaxy. Earth's only answer was silence. Arbiter Vexthalan of the Galactic Council was not accustomed to being ignored. He was a tall being, his blue-gray skin marked with the patterns of high rank among his people. His species, the Zinthari, had been founding members of the Council 3,000 years ago. They had welcomed hundreds of species into the galactic community. Never had any of them simply refused to respond. This is an insult, Vexthalan announced to the Council Assembly. These humans are primitives who do not understand the honor being offered to them. Other council members agreed. Some thought humanity was afraid. Others believed they were too stupid to understand the opportunity. A few suggested that perhaps humans were dangerous, that their silence indicated hostile intentions. After 3 months of waiting, the council made its decision. If Earth wanted isolation, they would have it. The quarantine was absolute. No council ship would approach human space. No trade would be offered. No communication would be attempted. Humanity would be left alone, ignored and forgotten until they came begging to join civilization. Let them sit in their little corner of space, Vexthalan declared. In time, they will see their mistake. They will see the wonders passing them by, and they will regret their pride. The galaxy moved on. Earth became a joke, a cautionary tale told to newly discovered species. Don't be like the humans, they would say. Too afraid to join the rest of us. The quarantine line was marked on all galactic maps with a warning. Primitive species. Do not engage. Not worth the effort. But behind that wall of silence, humanity was far from idle. Dr. James Okonkwo sat in a laboratory deep beneath the surface of Earth, reviewing data that flowed across dozens of screens. He was a tall man with dark skin and gray hair, one of Earth's leading experts in xenotechnology. Around him, thousands of scientists worked day and night, analyzing everything the Council had given them in those first contact broadcasts. They handed us the keys to their entire civilization, Okonkwo said to Chen during one of her visits. Every frequency they used, every language pattern, every technological signature, they wanted us to understand them. And we did understand, Chen replied. We understood that we weren't ready. She walked through the facility, past laboratories where human engineers were building something new. Not just ships or weapons, but an entirely new approach to galactic civilization. They had learned from the Council's broadcasts, yes, but they had also learned from the Council's mistake. The Council had assumed Earth was primitive. They had assumed humans would be grateful, eager, desperate to join. They had revealed their technology, their methods, their psychology, all in the belief that humanity would be too simple to understand or too weak to matter. They had given Earth 50 years to prepare. Young men and women came to training facilities across Earth. Volunteers from every nation, every culture, every walk of life. They came in the thousands, but only 1,000 would be chosen. The criteria were specific: intelligence, physical capability, mental resilience, and something harder to define. The ability to move in silence. The ability to think without being heard. The ability to become invisible in plain sight. Chen herself oversaw their selection and training. She watched as they learned to fight in ways the galaxy had never seen. Human martial arts merged with tactics designed to counter alien psychology. Soldiers learned to mask their thoughts against telepathic species. Engineers developed technology that could slip past sensors designed to detect every known form of space travel. The 1,000, they called themselves. 1,000 warriors who would carry Earth's response to the galaxy's dismissal. They trained not just in combat, but in observation. They studied every species in the Council, learning their strengths and weaknesses. They watched broadcasts that leaked through the quarantine line, news reports and entertainment, political debates, and military parades. They learned languages that no human had ever spoken. They memorized the layouts of alien ships, the tactics of alien armies, the psychology of alien minds, and they did it all in silence. Year by year, the technology advanced. Quantum shadow drives that could make a ship vanish from every known form of detection, neural dampers that could block telepathic senses, weapons designed not to kill but to disable, to confuse, to terrify. Humanity had learned something important from their years of isolation. Sometimes the greatest weapon was not the one that destroyed, but the one that made the enemy destroy themselves with fear. 50 years passed. An entire generation grew up knowing Earth only as the isolated planet, the place the galaxy had forgotten. Children asked their parents why they couldn't visit other worlds. The answer was always the same: not yet. We're not ready yet. But in the hidden bases, in the secret facilities, in the training grounds that didn't exist on any public map, the 1,000 prepared for the day when humanity would finally respond to the galaxy's invitation. Commander Sarah Chen was now 90 years old. Kept healthy by advanced medicine developed during the isolation, she stood on the bridge of the lead ship, one of 1,000 vessels invisible to every scanning technology the galaxy possessed. Around her, the 1,000 waited in their ships, each one a ghost, each one a shadow, each one a silent promise. The galaxy had ignored Earth. Now it was time for Earth to show them what they had ignored. Begin the advance, Chen ordered. Without a sound, without a signal that could be detected, the 1,000 ships moved forward into the darkness. The silence that had begun as Earth's shield was about to become its sword. The Krill Empire had been watching the edges of Council space for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. When that moment came, it came like thunder across the stars. They hit the Outer Rim worlds first. Small colonies, peaceful trading posts, mining operations on distant asteroids, places where the Council's peacekeeping forces were spread thin, where calls for help took hours to reach anyone who could respond. By the time help arrived, there was nothing left to save. The Krill were not like other species. They did not negotiate or trade. They did not seek diplomacy or understanding. They conquered, they absorbed, they moved on. Their empire had grown in the dark spaces beyond Council territory, building strength while the civilized galaxy ignored them. Now they were ready. Arbiter Vex Thalin received the first reports with concern but not alarm. The Krill had raided Council space before. They always retreated when proper force was applied. The Council had rules, procedures, protocols for exactly this kind of situation. Military fleets would be dispatched. The Krill would be pushed back. Order would be restored, but this time was different. The Krill came in numbers the Council had never seen. Thousands of ships organized into battle groups that moved with frightening precision. They had new technology, new weapons, new tactics. Most terrifying of all, they had perfected something called battle meditation. Every Krill warrior was linked telepathically to every other. They did not need to communicate through radios or computers. Their minds touched across the void of space, sharing information instantly, coordinating perfectly. An entire fleet moved as one organism, responding to threats before they developed, adapting to tactics before they could be fully deployed. Against such coordination, the Council's forces were like children fighting a trained army. Captain Thel Oren of the Council Defense Fleet watched his formation fall apart around him. His ship rocked as krill weapons tore through shields that should have held. Around him, other vessels exploded or went dark, their crews never knowing what hit them. "They're everywhere at once," his tactical officer shouted over the alarms. "They know what we're going to do before we do it." Thelorin tried to retreat, but the krill were already there, already waiting. His last thought was a question. How do you fight an enemy that reads your mind? World after world fell. The krill didn't just defeat the Council's forces, they crushed them. Refugees fled in massive waves, carrying stories of horror. Planets burned. Colonies were enslaved. Ancient civilizations that had stood for thousands of years were erased in days. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in centuries, there was real fear in the chamber. Representatives from 100 species shouted and argued, each one demanding that the Council do something, anything, to stop the advance. Vexthalin stood at the center of the chaos, trying to maintain order. "We have procedures," he insisted. "We have protocols. We will follow proper channels, and your protocols are killing us," screamed the delegate from Thrace the Four, a world that had just fallen to the krill. "We followed your rules, and now my people are dead or in chains." The argument raged for hours. Some wanted to surrender. Others demanded a massive military response. A few suggested seeking help from the independent systems, the species that had refused to join the Council. "Perhaps we should contact Earth," one delegate suggested quietly. The chamber fell silent. Then someone laughed. Others joined in, bitter and mocking. "The humans?" Vexthalin said. "The species too afraid to even answer our greeting? They've been hiding behind their little barrier for 50 years. They have nothing to offer us. They have fresh forces," the delegate pressed. "Ships that haven't been fighting. Soldiers who aren't exhausted. They have primitives playing with technology they don't understand," Vexthalin snapped. "The krill would destroy them in minutes. No, we will handle this ourselves as civilized beings should." But as weeks turned into months, it became clear that the Council could not handle it themselves. Every fleet sent to stop the krill was defeated. Every defensive line was broken. The refugees kept coming, flooding Council space with the displaced and desperate. On Earth, Commander Sarah Chen watched the reports with cold attention. The 1,000 were ready, had been ready for years, but the timing had to be perfect. They would get one chance to show the galaxy what humanity had become, one chance to step out of the shadows. She reviewed the intelligence data her people had gathered. The krill battle meditation was their greatest strength, but it was also their weakness. They relied on it so completely that they had forgotten how to fight any other way. They assumed every enemy would broadcast their intentions, through thought or communication. They had never faced an enemy who fought in absolute silence. "How long until the krill reach Council core space?" Chen asked her tactical officer. 3 weeks, maybe 4. "They're moving faster now." Meeting less resistance, Chen nodded slowly. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about the price of arrogance. The Council had spent so long believing in their own superiority that they had forgotten how to truly fight. They had procedures and protocols, but they had no warriors. Earth had warriors. The message came from Earth on the 50th anniversary of the first contact. It was not broadcast widely. It was sent directly to the Galactic Council, encrypted in a code that should have been impossible for humans to know, using technology that shouldn't exist in isolated Earth space. Vexthalin opened the message himself, his hands trembling slightly. It was short. Just a set of coordinates on the edge of krill-controlled space and a single word in the Council's diplomatic language. "Incoming." The Arbiter stared at the message for a long moment. Then he called for an emergency session. The delegates gathered, exhausted from months of war, desperate for any hope. "The humans have sent a communication," Vexthalin announced. The chamber buzzed with confused conversation. Humans, after 50 years of silence? What could they possibly want? "They've sent coordinates," Vexthalin continued. "And they say they're coming." "Coming where?" someone asked. "To the krill front lines." Laughter erupted again, but it was weaker this time, tinged with hysteria. The humans were going to fight the krill? The species that had hidden for 50 years was suddenly brave enough to face the greatest military threat the Council had ever known. "This is madness," a delegate declared. "They'll be slaughtered." "Let them try," another said bitterly. "At least they'll keep the krill busy for a few hours while we prepare our defenses." Vexthalin said nothing. He looked at the message again, at that single word. Incoming. There was something in it, some quality he couldn't define. Not a request for permission. Not a call for help. Just a statement of fact, we are coming. He thought back 50 years to Earth's first response. The silence. At the time, he had thought it was fear or stupidity. Now looking at this message, he wondered, what if it had been preparation? He shook his head. Impossible, humans were primitives. 50 years was nothing in galactic terms. They couldn't have possibly, but the doubt remained. Across the galaxy, at the coordinates Earth had provided, sensors began picking up anomalies. Nothing concrete, nothing clear, just the sense that something was moving in the darkness, something that didn't want to be seen. The Krill noticed too. Their battle meditation touched the void where Earth's forces should be and found nothing. No thoughts, no intentions, no fear or determination or anything at all, just silence. For the first time in their conquest, the Krill felt uncertain. An enemy they couldn't sense was an enemy they couldn't predict. And an enemy they couldn't predict was an enemy that frightened them. The 1,000 advanced in absolute silence, invisible to every sense, physical and mental. They moved like ghosts through the darkness, and where they passed, something changed. The galaxy was about to learn what Earth had been doing for 50 years, and the Krill were about to learn what it meant to fight an enemy who had made silence into a weapon. The Krill garrison on Helios Prime was celebrating their victory. The planet had fallen in less than a day, its defenses crumbling before the synchronized assault of the battle meditation. Now Krill warriors walked the streets of the conquered city, their mental link humming with satisfaction and shared triumph. Then the link went quiet. It didn't break. It didn't fade. It simply encountered something it had never felt before. A void. A space where thoughts should be but weren't. The Krill warriors stopped in their tracks, confused and suddenly afraid. What they couldn't sense, they couldn't fight. The first warrior disappeared without a sound. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. No weapon discharge, no cry for help. No final thought transmitted through the battle meditation. Just absence, then another vanished. And another panic spread through the Krill ranks. They fired their weapons at shadows, at empty air, at each other in their confusion. The battle meditation, once their greatest strength, became a conduit for their terror. Every warrior felt the fear of every other, amplified and reflected back until it was overwhelming. By dawn, Helios Prime was free. The Krill were gone, captured or fled. The human warriors stood silent guard over the city, saying nothing, asking for nothing. They simply waited, weapons ready, watching for the next threat. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the reports come in from all 1,000 vessels. 3 garrison worlds had fallen in 3 days. The Krill had lost thousands of troops without the humans firing more than a handful of shots. Most of the enemy had simply surrendered when they realized they were facing something they couldn't sense or understand. The quantum shadow drives are performing beyond expectations, her chief engineer reported. The Krill sensors can't detect us at all. And the neural dampers? Chen asked. Perfect. Their battle meditation passes right through us. To them, we're not just invisible. We don't exist, Chen nodded. 50 years of preparation. 50 years of watching and learning. Earth had studied every species in the Council, but they had paid special attention to the Krill. They had seen the Empire growing in the shadows, recognized the threat before the Council did, and they had designed every aspect of their military to counter exactly this enemy. The 1,000 were not just warriors. They were ghosts, specifically crafted to haunt the Krill's worst nightmares. Lieutenant Marcus Webb led his squad through the corridors of a captured Krill command station. They moved in absolute silence, their boots making no sound on the metal floors. Each warrior wore armor designed to absorb sensor beams and scatter mental probes. They were trained to think in patterns that even telepathic species couldn't read, their minds protected by both technology and discipline. Webb was young, only 25, but he had trained for this his entire adult life. His parents had been part of the generation that watched Earth withdraw from the galaxy. His grandparents had been alive for first contact. He was part of the generation that would show the galaxy what that silence had built. They found the Krill commander in his meditation chamber, surrounded by the neural links that connected him to his forces. He was alone, his warriors having fled or been captured. When he saw the humans enter, his eyes widened in terror. "What are you?" he demanded in the Council's common language. Webb said nothing. None of them did. They simply stood there watching him, present but somehow absent. The Krill commander tried to touch their minds with his battle meditation and found nothing. It was like reaching out in the dark and finding empty space where a person should be. "You're not real," the commander whispered. "You can't be real." Webb gestured, and 2 of his squad moved forward to secure the prisoner. Still no words. No battle cries, no threats, no explanation. The silence was complete, and in that silence the Krill commander broke. Across the sector, the pattern repeated. Human warriors appeared from nowhere, moved like shadows, struck without warning. They didn't fight the way the Council did, with grand fleets and formal engagements. They fought like Earth's ancient special forces, like ninjas and commandos and guerrilla fighters. They struck where the enemy was weak, vanished before reinforcements could arrive, and left terror in their wake. The Krill tried to adapt. They changed their tactics, their formations, their strategies. Nothing worked. The humans seemed to know what they would do before they did it. It was like fighting their own battle meditation, but reversed. Where the Krill sensed everything, the humans were invisible. Where the Krill coordinated perfectly, the humans needed no coordination at all. Each warrior moved independently but in perfect harmony with the others, like a school of fish or a flock of birds. News of the silent warriors spread through both Krill and Council space. The Council's reconnaissance ships arrived at Helios Prime to investigate and found human troops standing guard. The Council officers approached cautiously, weapons ready, unsure what to expect. The humans didn't move, didn't speak, didn't acknowledge the Council ships at all. "Identify yourselves," the Council commander demanded. The humans stood in formation, 100 warriors in perfect silence. Their armor bore no insignia, no markings. Their ships had no names. They were anonymous, faceless, voiceless. Finally, after a long moment, one human stepped forward. It was Commander Chen herself, having come down to the surface to oversee the operation. She looked at the Council officer with calm, measuring eyes. "Earth protects those who cannot protect themselves," she said simply. Then she handed the officer a data chip and turned away. The Council officer watched her go, then looked at the data chip. It contained complete tactical information on the 3 liberated worlds. Troop dispositions, defensive strategies, supply lines. Everything the Council needed to secure the territory and help the refugees return home. There were no demands, no requests for payment or political favors, no insistence on recognition or gratitude, just the information freely given and then silence. "Wait," the Council officer called. "We need to understand. Who trained you? Where did you get this technology? How are you defeating the Krill?" Chen paused but didn't turn around. "You gave us 50 years of peace. We used them well." Then she was gone, vanished into her ship with her warriors, leaving the Council forces to stare at empty space. The reports reached the Galactic Council chamber within hours. Arbiter Vexthalin read them 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. 3 worlds liberated, thousands of Krill captured or driven off, 0 human casualties reported, and most impossible of all, the humans had simply left when their job was done. "They're not asking for anything?" a delegate questioned. "Nothing," the intelligence officer confirmed. They freed the worlds and departed. The only communication was tactical data to help us secure the area. "This makes no sense," another delegate said. "Species don't help each other without wanting something in return." "What's their game?" Vexthalin stared at the reports. He thought back 50 years to Earth's silence. He had called them afraid, called them primitive. He had placed them under quarantine to punish their refusal to join the Council. Now they were fighting the Council's war, asking nothing in return. "Send a message to Earth," he said quietly. "Request a meeting." "They won't answer," someone pointed out. "They never answer. Send it anyway." The message was sent. As expected, there was no reply. But more reports came in, more Krill garrisons falling, more worlds freed. The silent warriors advanced deeper into enemy territory, moving like a wave of darkness that swallowed the Krill forces and left peace in its wake. The galaxy watched in awe and confusion. Who were these silent warriors? Where had they come from? And most importantly, what did they want? But the humans offered no answers. They simply advanced world by world, pushing the Krill back. And where they passed, they left only silence and freedom in their wake. The Krill Empire, for the first time in its history, began to retreat. The Council reconnaissance fleet approached the liberated world of Thrace 4 carefully. This had been one of the first planets to fall to the Krill, a thriving colony of 3 million souls that had been enslaved or killed in a matter of hours. Now, according to reports, it was free again. The fleet expected to find ruins. They expected to find graves. Instead, they found human warriors standing guard at every major city, silent and watchful. The Krill were gone. The cities were intact. And the survivors were slowly emerging from hiding, confused but alive. Captain Thel Oren, who had survived the earlier battle through luck and a damaged ship, led the landing party. He had orders to make contact with the humans to understand what they were doing and what they wanted. He was nervous. The reports about these silent warriors were disturbing. They moved like ghosts. They fought like demons. No one knew what to expect from them. The humans stood in formation in the planet's main square. There were perhaps 200 of them, all in identical dark armor, all perfectly still. They watched the council officers approach but made no move to greet them. "I am Captain Thel Oren of the Galactic Council Defense Fleet," he announced, trying to keep his voice steady. "I wish to speak with your commander." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then one human stepped forward. It was Commander Chen. She was older than Thel Oren had expected, with gray in her hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of years spent in preparation and command. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of Earth," she said simply. "Commander Chen," Thel Oren said carefully, "the Council wishes to understand your intentions. You have freed several worlds from Krill control. You have asked for nothing in return. We need to know what you want." Chen looked at him with those calm, measuring eyes. "We want nothing." "Nothing? You risk your warriors for nothing?" "We risk them for those who cannot protect themselves." "That is enough." Thel Oren struggled to understand. In galactic politics, nothing was ever given freely. Every action had a price, every gesture demanded payment. "But surely you want recognition." "Alliance, technology, access to council space." 50 years ago, Chen said quietly, the council came to Earth. You offered us a place in your civilization. We declined. You placed us under quarantine and called us afraid. Thel Oren felt shame wash over him. He remembered those debates, the laughter at Earth's expense. "We were not afraid," Chen continued. "We were cautious. We watched you. We learned from you. Every broadcast you sent, every news report, every entertainment program that leaked through your quarantine. We studied you all. Every species. Every strength. Every weakness. You were spying on us. We were learning. There is a difference." Chen gestured to her warriors. "These soldiers represent every nation on Earth, every culture, every military tradition. They have studied every form of combat known to humanity and to the galaxy. They know your languages, your tactics, your psychology. 50 years, Captain. That is how long you gave us to prepare." "Prepare for what?" "For this. For the moment when the galaxy would need us." Thel Oren felt something shift in his understanding. "You saw the Krill coming?" "We saw an empire growing in the shadows. We saw that the Council was not prepared to face it. We saw what would happen when they struck." Chen's voice remained calm, factual. "The Council believes in procedures and protocols. But you had forgotten how to fight. You had grown soft in your peace, and you? What are you?" "We are those who guard the silence." Chen pulled out a data pad and handed it to him. "This contains tactical information on 17 Krill strongholds in this sector. Their defenses, their supply lines, their command structures. Use it to help the refugees return home. Use it to rebuild what was lost." Thel Oren took the data pad with trembling hands. "Why give this to us?" "Because it is needed." "But what do you gain?" Chen smiled slightly, and there was something sad in it. "Captain, you asked what we want. I will tell you. We want the galaxy to be safe. We want the innocent to be protected. We want no one to suffer as Earth suffered during our isolation. That is all. That is everything." She turned to leave, but Thel Oren called out, "Wait, the Council needs to understand. You fight like nothing we have ever seen. You defeat the Krill as if they were nothing. How? What makes you so effective?" Chen paused. For a moment she seemed to be deciding how much to reveal. Then she turned back. "The Krill rely on their battle meditation. They sense the thoughts and intentions of their enemies. They move together, think together, act together. It is their greatest strength. Yes, we know this. It makes them nearly impossible to fight." "Nearly," Chen agreed. "But every strength has a weakness. The Krill have never faced an enemy they cannot sense. Their entire military doctrine assumes they will always have perfect information about their opponents. They have forgotten how to fight blind." "And you can make them blind?" We are the blind spot in their vision. Our technology makes us invisible to their sensors. Our training makes us invisible to their minds. We think in patterns they cannot read. We move in ways they cannot predict. To the Krill, we do not exist, and what does not exist cannot be fought. Thelorin understood then. The humans had not just built weapons or trained soldiers. They had created a military force specifically designed to exploit the one weakness the Krill had never known they possessed. 50 years, he whispered. You spent 50 years preparing to fight an enemy that hadn't even attacked yet. We spent 50 years preparing to protect those who would need protection. The Krill just happened to be the threat that emerged. Chen's expression was serious. But there will be others. There are always others, and you will fight them too, if we must. The council ship brought news of the encounter back to the central chamber. The delegates listened in silence as Thelorin played the recording of his conversation with Chen. When it finished, the chamber erupted in debate. They were watching us.
Studying us!
This is espionage. They saved millions of lives. This is heroism. They created weapons specifically to counter galactic species. This is dangerous. They used those weapons to free enslaved worlds. This is justice. The argument raged for hours. Some delegates called for Earth to be honored as heroes. Others demanded they be sanctioned for spying. A few called for them to be feared and contained. The council was fracturing along lines of gratitude and suspicion. Arbiter Vexthalan sat in his chair, listening to the chaos. He thought about 50 years ago, when he had laughed at Earth's silence. He thought about his certainty that they were primitives afraid to face the advanced galaxy. He had been so wrong. Finally, he stood. The chamber fell silent. We judged them, Vexthalan said quietly. We judged them without understanding. We mocked their caution and punished their wisdom. They responded by becoming exactly what the galaxy needed, even though we had rejected them. What are you saying, Arbiter? Someone asked. I am saying we were the fools, not them. He looked around the chamber at faces that represented hundreds of species, thousands of worlds. They asked nothing of us. They could have demanded payment for their help. They could have required us to apologize for the quarantine. They could have made us beg. Instead, they simply helped, because that is what was needed. So what do we do? A delegate asked. We learn from them, Vexthalan said, just as they learned from us. A message was sent to Earth. Not a demand or a request, but a simple acknowledgement. The Council recognized Earth's actions. They offered alliance not as superiors to subordinates, but as equals. For the first time in 50 years, Earth answered. The message was brief. Commander Chen's face appeared on the screens throughout the Council chamber. We accept your recognition. We will stand with the Council as partners, not subjects. We will continue to protect those who need protection. And we will speak when speech is needed. Until then, we guard the silence. The transmission ended. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then someone started clapping. Others joined in. Soon the entire chamber was filled with the sound of applause. Hundreds of species honoring the warriors who had asked for nothing, but had given everything. Earth had been forced into silence, but in that silence they had found their purpose. And now the galaxy would never ignore them again. The Krill homeworld of Krikstar had never known defeat. For thousands of years, it had been the heart of an empire built on conquest and domination. Its cities stretched across continents, monuments to victory rising toward red skies. In the great halls of the Imperial Palace, the Krill Emperor had received tribute from 100 conquered worlds. Now, those halls were silent. The Emperor stood at his window, looking up at the stars. There, in orbit above his world, hung the 1,000 ships of humanity. They had arrived without warning, without battle, without a single shot fired. They simply appeared, materializing from the darkness like nightmares made real. And then they waited. The Emperor's advisors crowded the throne room, their voices raised in panic and confusion. The battle meditation that had always connected them was useless against these silent invaders. They could not sense the humans' intentions. They could not predict their actions. For the first time in their history, the Krill were blind. They have not fired on us, one advisor pointed out. Yet, another added. They wait for something. But what? What do they want? The Emperor raised his hand for silence. His people fell quiet, looking to him for guidance. He had led them to glory across the stars. He had built an empire that stretched across sectors. Now faced with an enemy he could not understand, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the planet below. The other 999 ships of the 1,000 maintained their positions around her, weapons cold, shields down. They were not here to destroy. They were here to end this. Scan results? She asked. The Krill military is mobilizing, her tactical officer reported. They have fleet elements moving to defensive positions. Ground forces are preparing for invasion. They're expecting us to attack. Let them prepare, Chen said calmly. We're not here to fight. Lieutenant Marcus Webb stood beside her, confused. Ma'am, we've come all this way to just wait? Sometimes the greatest victory is the one you don't have to fight for. Chen gestured to the planet below. The Krill have never faced an enemy they couldn't sense. Their entire military depends on knowing what their opponents will do, but we give them nothing. No signals, no thoughts, no intentions they can read. To them, we are a void. So we're psychological warfare? We are a question they cannot answer, Chen corrected. And that uncertainty will break them faster than any weapon. Days passed. The human ships maintained their positions, silent and watchful. The Krill military remained on high alert, but no attack came. The tension grew unbearable. Soldiers stationed at defensive positions stared at the sky, waiting for death to fall from above. Citizens huddled in their homes, wondering when the bombardment would begin, but there was only silence. On the third day, a single Krill shuttle launched from the surface. It approached the human fleet slowly, broadcasting surrender codes. Chen watched it come, unsurprised. They want to negotiate, her communications officer said. Patch them through. The Krill Emperor's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than his years, exhausted by fear and uncertainty. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. I am Emperor Crix Thalen. I wish to speak with your commander. I am Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. The Emperor stared at her. What do you want? Why do you simply wait? If you mean to destroy us, then do it. This silence is unbearable. We do not wish to destroy you, Chen said simply. We wish for you to stop destroying others. You defeated our forces. You freed the worlds we conquered. You have proven your power. What more do you want? We want peace. The Emperor laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Peace? You surround my world with warships and speak of peace? These ships have not fired a single weapon at your planet, Chen pointed out. Their weapons are cold. Their shields are down. We could have bombarded your world from orbit. We could have invaded with troops. We could have done to you what you did to so many others. But we did not. Why not? Because that is not who we are. Chen leaned forward slightly. Your empire was built on conquest. You believed that strength meant taking what you wanted, crushing those who opposed you. You believed that victory meant domination, and you do not? We believe that true strength is knowing when not to use force. We believe that victory means protecting the innocent, not exploiting them. Chen's voice was firm but not harsh. Emperor, your people are afraid. They wait for us to attack. They expect us to be like you, to take revenge for all the suffering you caused. But we are not like you. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet. What do you want from us? We want you to withdraw from all conquered territories. We want you to free all enslaved peoples. We want you to commit to peace with the Galactic Council. And if we refuse, Chen gestured to the ships around her, then we will continue to wait. Your military will remain on high alert. Your people will remain afraid. Your economy will suffer. Your empire will collapse not because we destroyed it, but because the uncertainty destroyed it from within. The Emperor understood then. The humans were not threatening him with weapons. They were threatening him with silence, with the unknown, with the unbearable tension of waiting for an attack that might never come. It was more effective than any bombardment. You are cruel, he said. We are patient, Chen corrected. There is a difference. The negotiations took 3 days. The Krill agreed to every demand. They withdrew their forces from conquered worlds. They freed their slaves. They signed peace treaties with the Council. In exchange, the humans simply left, vanishing as suddenly as they had appeared. The galaxy watched in amazement. Earth had defeated the greatest military threat the Council had ever faced, not through overwhelming force, but through the psychological power of silence and restraint. They had surrounded the enemy homeworld and won without firing a shot. The council chamber was packed when Commander Chen arrived. It was the first time she had come in person, the first time any human representative had entered the heart of galactic civilization. The delegates rose as she entered, a gesture of respect that had not been offered to any newcomer in centuries. Arbiter Vexathalan approached her, and there was genuine humility in his expression. Commander Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I wish to apologize for our treatment of Earth 50 years ago. We judged you without understanding. We punished you for wisdom we lacked. Chen studied him for a moment, then nodded. Your apology is accepted, Arbiter. But it was not necessary. Those 50 years made us who we are. Without them, we would not have been ready for this moment. The Council wishes to offer Earth full membership, Vexthalan continued. With all rights and privileges, you have more than earned your place among us. We appreciate the offer, Chen said carefully, but we must decline. Shocked murmurs ran through the chamber. After everything, Earth was still refusing. We do not wish to be members of the Council, Chen explained. But we will be your partners, your allies. We will stand with you against threats to peace. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves, but we will do so as an independent people, not as subjects of any authority. But why? A delegate asked. Why refuse membership? Because membership comes with obligations to follow Council procedures and protocols. We have seen where those led. Chen's voice was gentle but firm. The Council is paralyzed by bureaucracy. When the Krill attacked, you spent weeks in debate while worlds burned. We cannot be bound by such limitations. So you will be, what, vigilantes? We will be guardians, Chen said. We will watch. We will protect. And we will speak when speech is needed. She looked around the chamber at all the faces watching her. But until then, we guard the silence. The treaty was signed. Earth became an allied power, equal to the Council but separate from it. The 1,000 remained deployed at the frontiers, watching for threats, ready to respond to any new danger. They became known across the galaxy as the Shepherds, the silent guardians who asked for nothing but gave everything. Years passed. The galaxy changed. New species joined the Council. Old conflicts were resolved. The memory of the Krill invasion faded into history. But the 1,000 remained, always watching, always ready. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of her flagship, looking out at the stars. She was over 100 years old now, kept alive by medicine that seemed miraculous even to her. Soon she would retire, and a new generation would take over the 1,000. But the mission would continue. A young lieutenant approached her. Ma'am, there's a situation developing in the Outer Rim. A new aggressive species has been detected. The Council is requesting our assistance. Chen smiled slightly. Prepare the fleet, and remind everyone, silence is not just the absence of sound. It is the presence of readiness. We move in silence. We strike in silence. And in that silence, we keep the peace. Yes, ma'am. As the ships prepared to move, Chen thought back to that day 50 years ago when Earth had chosen silence over eager participation in galactic affairs. It had seemed like weakness to the Council, like fear. But Earth had understood something the galaxy had forgotten. True power did not come from speaking the loudest. It came from knowing when to speak and when to listen. It came from preparation, from patience, from the willingness to act without need for recognition or reward. The galaxy had ignored Earth, had laughed at their silence, had called them afraid. Now that same galaxy slept safely because of that silence. Because Earth had taken those 50 years and forged them into something the universe had never seen before. Warriors who fought not for glory or conquest, but for the simple principle that the innocent deserved protection. The 1,000 moved out into the darkness, silent as always, ready as always. Behind them, the galaxy continued its daily life, most people never knowing that they were being protected, never seeing the guardians who watched over them. And that was exactly how Earth wanted it. They had been forced into silence, but they had made it their greatest gift to the galaxy. In the end, Earth had not just answered the Council's invitation. They had redefined what it meant to be part of galactic civilization. Not through words or treaties or political maneuvering, but through action, sacrifice, and the quiet strength of those who protect without asking for anything in return. The silence that had begun as isolation had become a promise, a testament to humanity's true nature. And as long as the 1,000 stood watch, that promise would never be broken. We are here. We are watching. We are ready. Until words are needed, we guard the silence.